Okay, Councillor Sheneman, can you hear us all right? Can we check your mic as well, please?
Thank you.
Okay, great, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that we do call this regular meeting of council to order on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 6 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. And I'll hand it over to the Deputy Mayor, Peter Kistemaker.
Sorry. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the land on which we gather here today is Treaty 9, 1905-1906 territory, the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. As we work towards reconciliation, may we all live with respect on the land and live in peace and friendship with all its diverse peoples.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, item number 3 is review and note any changes to the agenda. Just due to a presentation tonight, 7.1, we'll put it after our presentation, after 8.1. And then that way, council, we have the time to fully discuss. So if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Dragos-Pan, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor? And that is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, declaration of conflict of interest. Council, you can do that at any time throughout the meeting if such a situation arises. I don't have any present. 6 is the adoption of the minutes from the regular meeting of council on February 7th. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby adopt the minutes for the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024 as distributed. Any comment on those minutes? Okay, there being none, I put them to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. And we have the adoption of our special meeting minutes from February 14th. Councillor Dragos-Pan, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby adopt the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024 as distributed. Any comment on those minutes? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. And we have our regular meeting of council on February 21st. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Dragos-Pan. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 as distributed. Any comment on those minutes? There being none, I put it to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so we're moving on to item 8, deputation, presentation, tender awards, and open discussions. And we have North Rock Engineering with us virtually today, presenting on the 3rd Avenue Reconstruction project. I welcome Kevin Briggs to our meeting.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to get my camera going on again here. Hi, there we go.
Hello, how are you, Kevin? Nice to be in Hornepayne virtually.
Yeah, for sure. And just before I get into my presentation, I just, Mayor Fort and everybody else that's in the room, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to join you in your regular council meeting this evening and present to you our preliminary design options that we have completed for the reconstruction of 3rd Avenue in the town of Hornepayne.
Okay, great. I'm glad to have you here. I've heard nothing but good things from the staff of working with you and your company, so that's great. And I like that it's in Northern Ontario, so that's an extra bonus. So the floor is yours, and I think that you have sharing privileges for your presentation as well.
Okay, so I'm able to share my screen now. It looks like I can. I am going to just bear with me 1 second.
Do you want me to leave us in the
There, just let me know if you can see my screen. It should be the title page of our PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, we can see the screen. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so again, thank you, Mayor Fort and Council for giving me the opportunity to present today. It's Wednesday, March the 6th. This is your regular council meeting. I'd like to present to you the preliminary design options that North Rock Engineering has completed for the reconstruction of 3rd Avenue within the town of Hornepayne. I've really simplified and made this a little bit of a briefer version than what we presented to the project team members when we were in Hornepayne, or when we presented this virtually also a little while ago. This is a brief version of that, but just go through a very brief agenda for you. So I'm going to start with a very brief introduction on North Rock Engineering itself. I'm assuming that folks have probably not heard of us. We're not a very big company yet, but we're hoping to get there. I'll follow that with a brief overview of the project itself. I'll present to you the 2 options that we were tasked through the RFP process to come up with as part of this preliminary design presentation. The first one being a straight reconstruction of 3rd Avenue, the end result being something very similar to what you see aesthetically out there now. The second option being an urbanization model, and with that, we looked at the addition of concrete curb and gutter throughout the entire section of 3rd Avenue, as well as the addition of sidewalks on one side, which I will get into a little bit further when we get into the options. I'll follow that up with a brief discussion on constructability and some potential conflicts that we've identified, either synonymous between the 2 options or between the 2 options themselves. Our preliminary cost estimate that we've provided to the town for both option 1 and 2 to help you in your decision on which option we carry through to detailed design. And then I'll follow that up with open the floor up for questions that anybody in the meeting may have, or just a general discussion about anything that you guys want to talk about. So moving forward, just a little bit about us. So my name is Kevin Briggs. I'm the president of engineering services at North Rock Engineering and also one of 3 equal owners of the company. I'm the civil engineer in the group. We basically focus on 3 main areas of engineering in Northwestern Ontario, one being civil engineering, more specifically transportation, municipal design, landfill, etc. My other partner, one of my partners, is also a registered hydrogeologist. He looks after the environmental side of things, regular monitoring and reporting, landfills as well, spill remediations, etc. And then our third partner is registered, or he's a professional surveyor, and so we have a survey wing of the company. North Rock Engineering itself is, as I alluded to in my brief overview at the beginning, is a very new company. We were established just in 2021 with 1 office and only 1 office located in Thunder Bay. All of us that are the 3 owners are from Thunder Bay, and we all worked together at other engineering firms before we started North Rock Engineering. As I said, we basically a smaller company that we've specialized in several different engineering disciplines, hydrogeological and environmental sciences. We carry a C of A through the Professional Engineers of Ontario, and I'm a registered engineer in both the province of Ontario as well as Manitoba. We have a total staff complement of 13 right now, and combined we have over 100 years of professional environmental experiencing, developing, managing, and completing civil transportation, design, municipal design, engineering surveys, construction administration. I won't get into all of these, but we do have quite a few specialties. Our clients range anywhere from federal and provincial government. We do a lot of work with the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario, as well as many municipalities throughout Northwestern Ontario. And fortunately, we're very happy that Hornepayne is one of those municipalities, as well as quite a few First Nation communities. So as I said, we are also RACS approved through the Ministry of Transportation for several specialties, and we do quite a bit of work for the Ministry of Transportation as well. A brief overview of the project. So North Rock Engineering was retained by the Township of Hornepayne to complete the detailed design and contract administration services for the reconstruction of 3rd Avenue. We were awarded that project last summer, carried out the field investigations last fall. The subject section of 3rd Avenue includes full road reconstruction from Old Land and Forest Road all the way down to Front Street. In the RFP process, it was identified that this section of road was required for reconstruction due to the age of the existing water infrastructure. Our understanding is that There's frequent water main breaks, and we noticed that out in the field too, a lot of repair jobs, as well as just general fatigue of the aging asphalt. And it's clear that it's in need of rehabilitation at this point. The township had identified through the RFP that there was 2 options that were to be explored by the successful proponent, which was North Rock. And so that's where we are at today, where we have completed that preliminary design of 2 different options, as well as preliminary costing. And we're at the point now where we need some direction from the project team, meaning the township, to be able to carry one of those options through detailed design. The field work, which included survey, if you've seen us out there last fall, we did a complete topographical survey of the entire section last fall. I was also there for the startup meeting and spent a couple days reviewing several elements of the project in the field myself, as well as one of my engineers in training that worked very closely with me. And then we also completed the geotechnical field investigations lab and reporting as well last fall. So our first option, option 1, is just basically a reconstruction of what you see there. As part of that work, we are tasked with replacing the water main throughout the entire section. We've also been tasked with replacing the sanitary sewer throughout the entire section. And then the road structure, I've provided to you in this presentation a cross-section of what the roadway will look like. We tried our very best to match what was existing so that we don't get into any unnecessary widening as part of this reconstruction option. And the best fit is what you see in front of you. So we've opted, or what I'm recommending, is 2 3.5-meter lanes. So that's 1 lane in either direction. And then that allows for about a 1-meter paved shoulder on both sides. Based on my experience when I was there, there's quite a bit of traffic on 3rd Avenue for a smaller town. There was also quite a bit of bicycle and pedestrian traffic as well. And I think that us having that extra, it basically matches what's there. But I've also recommended that we actually put pavement lines on there, so there'd be a white strip to delineate each of the driving lanes, which is what is identified on your screen as DL. And then that provides with a 1-meter paved shoulder for pedestrians and bicycles. As part of the roadway structure itself, it was identified that there is approximately 80 millimeters of existing asphalt with approximately 1 meter of silty sand. The reason why it was identified as silty sand, I'm sure it was good granular material when it was first laid. However, just due to fatigue, constant traffic loading, and that over time, that granular material under the asphalt does have a tendency to break down into finer material. So our geotechnical folks, which was Stantec Consulting, whom I actually used to work for, they were our geotechnical sub-consultants on this project. They went out and did a field program last fall, and based on their lab, their traffic data inputs, they came back and agreed that the 80 millimeters of asphalt that is there now would be suitable for the replacement depth, followed by 150 millimeters of new granular A, and then at least 500 millimeters of new granular B under that. And that'll be easily achievable because a lot of the road will be dug up anyways to replace the water main and sanitary sewer. Option 2 is a little bit of a different cross-section than what I just showed you. Similar to option 1, we will still be replacing the water main. That hasn't changed between the 2 options. We will still be replacing the sanitary sewer. That hasn't changed between the 2 options. If you see your screen in front of you, you'll see our cross-section. I'm still recommending 2 3.5-meter lanes. However, you'll notice, and this is from the west looking to the east. So the south side of the roadway I've identified as a best fit for a sidewalk, which would go down the entire length of the south side of the roadway. We did try, in case the question does come, we did try and fit that sidewalk on both sides. It fit better on the south side, as well as when you approach Front Street in the downtown core, there is an existing sidewalk, so it's an easier fit for us to match into that existing sidewalk. So for those reasons, I've opted to look at the south side as the best fit for the sidewalk, as well as curb and gutter on both sides. So there's still going to be a 1 meter paved shoulder on the northbound side. That hasn't changed, but it's just a little nicer to have the sidewalk then for pedestrian traffic on the southbound side. Because of the addition of curb and gutter, this option will also have the implementation of an extended storm sewer. The entire length of 3rd Avenue right now does not have a storm sewer. There's open channels, some open drainage. As you approach the downtown core, you do get into an existing storm sewer system. So we would extend that, not the entire length, but we would extend that a considerable way up the hill and extend that storm sewer just to be able to accommodate the surficial flow coming off the road, the side streets and into the gutter, just to be able to handle that overland flow a little bit better. As I said, the typical cross section would still look the same. So you'd still be looking at 80 millimeters of asphalt, 150 millimeters of granular A, and 500 millimeters of granular B. Like I said, you have a standard 1.5 meter wide sidewalk on this option, as well as the concrete curb and gutter. So constructability wise, we identified a couple of things between the two cross sections. So obviously with the reconstruction model, very limited the amount of work we need to do outside the road platform itself. We'd be able to, during detailed design, aside from a couple of select areas, for the most part, we'd be able to tie into people's yards, tie into people's driveways, tie into the existing ditches a little bit, or very well. It fits the existing platform very well. However, in the urbanized model, obviously with the addition of curb and gutter, especially on the one side, and then the sidewalk, it would equate to us having to move a lot of the ditches back. That will also equate to us having to move a lot of the culverts back. So obviously there's increased costs associated with that. But we did run a preliminary check through in case the question does come, and we do not see anywhere that we were able to identify that our new ditching would actually go outside property. So that work would still be able to occur within the town's road corridor, and it wouldn't get into private property issues. Regardless of which option we go with, because of the depth, because we're going down that big hill, and there's a significant gradient to the sanitary sewers in that, they're very deep. I went and popped those manholes myself, and the existing sanitary sewer is very, very deep there. So during construction, obviously there'll be a fairly big open hole on the one side. So obviously, regardless of which option we go with, another constructability issue that we've identified is disruptions to traffic during construction. So I foresee a lot of the summer and fall when this work goes on. It's tentatively scheduled for construction in 2025. A lot of 3rd Avenue will be down to 1 lane of traffic during the day, which it's disruptive for short term, but again, we would make sure that the contractor always does have some level of accessibility there from a traffic perspective. There would also be obviously intermittent disruptions to businesses. There's a grocery store, a few other businesses kind of on it would be the east end of the project in the downtown core. Between the disruption to traffic as well as the disruption to businesses, we already talked about it with the project team, Eileen and the folks in the town, about just ensuring that we have within the tender itself, we would make sure that the contractor is required to maintain those businesses being open. So they'd have to provide temporary access. They would have to make sure that traffic is accessible on 3rd Avenue, at least in one direction at all times under flagging operations, things of that nature. Also, disruptions to the individual residences. There's quite a few homes that front onto 3rd Avenue. And obviously with us doing the work right in their front yard, there's going to be intermittent disruptions to people's accessibility to their own driveways. We would again make sure that the contractor is required to restore those on a daily basis. Also, because of the replacement of the water main, the contractor would obviously have to provide temporary water service to every house on 3rd Avenue, which is very typical. It happens all the time, but it's still, we identified it as a disruption to the residents on 3rd Avenue. And then just because there's catch basins and manholes that do occur in bedrock, we're not looking at moving any of the locations of the sanitary manholes. Like I said, there might be, depending on if we go with option 2, there might be some work to the storm sewer. However, we would make sure that we have shallow catch basins in that and try and avoid rock. We actually thought we'd encounter rock a little bit more shallow than what we did, but the rock was actually deeper. So I don't foresee us actually encountering rock, even if we do have to replace catch basins and manholes themselves. And then excess soil requirements. So as part of our work, what we were tasked in the RFP is just going through the process of ensuring that none of the soils that underlie 3rd Avenue are contaminated materials. We don't foresee that at this point, but we're just going through that process now of just identifying any previous uses and that are in the area of 3rd Avenue. If there are any access soil requirements, obviously we'd make sure that that legislation is located within the tender at the time of construction. I don't foresee it being a problem, but if we do end up identifying anything just through the detailed design process, the town will know about it right away. So potential conflicts, we actually didn't identify very many. What you see in front of you is just a typical plan and profile that we provided to Eileen and the project team, just showing our preliminary plan and profile. This is just an excerpt from option 2. So the gray line at the bottom of the screen is our proposed new sidewalk. And you can see it's along the entire length of the right from Old Forestry Road right down to Front Street. Under this option, I just popped up a circle there. We did identify one single utility pole where the anchor would be in conflict with the sidewalk. I've been in discussion, not specifically on this project, but I have been in discussions with Hydro on other projects. Something like that's very minimal. It would not have an impact on us. We just have to look with the town on what type of a utility joint use agreement that the town has with Hydro, and just see about cost sharing to have that anchor relocated, et cetera. So if we should go with option 2, we'll very quickly identify, we already have identified potential conflicts, and then we could initiate discussions with the affected utility plant at that time. The other conflicts we had were just located downtown. So with right now, what we identified is we identified one catch basin on one side of the street that's kind of sitting out in the middle of the street, especially if we go with option 2 and we have the current concrete curb and gutter and everything, we'd want to move that catch basin over so that it's in the proper place. A small move, not a big deal, but just it would, it's just something that we did identify as a potential conflict. On the other side of the street, there does also seem to be a catch basin that's located behind the curb. I'd want to move that out into the curb as well, just so that we have a catch basin at both curb lines right down at the intersection with Front Street. So, and then also there's another pole that would be right in the way of the curb and gutter down at that side. So. Okay, so that's for the entire length of the project, we've only identified a handful of conflicts. So that's very minimal, which is a good thing. So now getting into costing. So option 1, please keep in mind that these are preliminary numbers. We were conservative with our estimates in terms of our quantities and that. So I would like to see a slightly higher number right now. For you guys to seek whatever funding avenues that you are for the construction of this project. And as we get into detailed design and are able to refine those quantities, I prefer a client to see the number come down to the final number as opposed to starting with a number and then going up to something higher. So right now we're sitting at, for option 1, the reconstruction. This is for all of the work associated with it. We identified basically everything and anything that could possibly be an item in the tender. We're looking at about $2.9 million. Included within that is about $900,000 in the replacement of the existing sanitary, approximately the same value for the replacement of the existing water main. And then there's about $400,000 worth of new asphalt. The plus 290,000 that you see between the 2.9 million is in discussions with Eileen and the project team. We've added a 10% contingency value right now. So that also I'd like to see come down. And if you I'm sure that you do understand what the contingency is meant to be. The contingency is there just for anything unforeseen during construction, or if something comes up that the town would like fixed, corrected, or done during construction, then through a change order process with the contractor, we can get into doing that work. But if we don't need it, then we don't use it. So I'd like to see the town end up with the majority of that contingency value at the end. But again, it just depends on what work comes up during the work. So it's not to correct errors during design or anything like that. The intent there is that if there's anything pops up that the town would like done while we're out there, that it gets done at that time. Through the RFP process, when North Rock was awarded the contract, we were told to assume 40 weeks of construction. Our construction administration value is $282,400, and that's based on our original. We haven't ever changed that, of course. That's based on our original submission. Option 2, because of the additional platform, the addition of the sidewalks, curb and gutters and everything, our estimated preliminary construction value is considerably more. We're looking at about $4.7 million. In addition to, like, it's the same size, about $900,000 for the water main and sanitary. In addition to that, we're looking at about $750,000 in additional storm sewer. And that's like a worst case scenario if we had to extend the storm sewer a considerable distance up Front Street, up 3rd Avenue. I'd like to see that number come down should the township choose that option, but this is worst case. Approximately $700,000 worth of new concrete curb and gutter, about $350,000 in concrete sidewalk. Again, with a construction contingency of 10%, we're looking at approximately an additional $470,000 based on this option 2 model. And again, our construction administration costs are still sitting at $282,400. We say plus additional because if we go with option 2, there'd be some more contract admin time that we could take care of through a change order, just for concrete testing and all of that type of thing. So if we go with option 2, that's something that we can deal with once we get there from a construction administration perspective. And that's all I have. Sorry, I think I took a little bit longer than I intended to. I get long-winded sometimes, so I do apologize. But I do appreciate the time to be able to go through this presentation. And I now open the floor up to if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that you'd like to talk about while you have me on the line.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. And I'll open up the floor for council for questions. Councilor Briggs, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, through you. Thank you for a great presentation. Once this project is complete, doesn't matter option 1 or 2, what is the typical lifespan on the infrastructure, meaning the road surface and the underground structure?
Yeah, for sure. So typically this type of project, you're looking at 12 to 15 years of new asphalt service life. Based on the 80 millimeters that's there. And I do believe we were asked to assume some traffic numbers. And so I worked with Stantec when they were doing their reporting, and we used pretty conservative traffic loading numbers. So while Stantec, our geotechnical consultant, wouldn't endorse probably anything longer than 12 to 15 years. I do have a suspicion that because of fairly low traffic volume with 80 millimeters of asphalt, that and with us putting a good granular base underneath, that you'd get a good amount of life out of that. So I think you'd be looking at that 15 years, if not more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions from council? Councilor Belinda Kistemaker, go ahead.
When you're doing option 1 and you're putting it in, and say you had an opportunity to do option 2 afterwards, I'm just saying, would you be able to be ready for that, doing it that way, or no? It's either option 1 or option 2.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it would be a double up of quite a bit of effort in terms of design. Like the width of the platform doesn't change in either one. but we wouldn't carry the curb and gutter and the sidewalks and everything through a detailed design process if it was the town's wishes initially to go with option one. Having said that, we could, knowing that construction is not going on until 2025, is the anticipated or tentative construction start. We're going to be done this design this summer. So presumably the project will be on the shelf and waiting to go to tender next winter. So if the question is directed in a way that maybe you're looking for additional funding opportunities that you don't know for sure you have right now, and then that's why maybe you'd go with option two down the road, I will say that yes, we would have time to do that. I would not want to put option one to tender, get a contractor on board, and then try through some sort of a change order process to go with option two, because then you're bound to that particular contractor and you're bound to whatever kind of costs he comes back with through that change order process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions from council? Councillor Shannon, do you have any questions?
No questions, Madam Mayor. Thank you. That was a very well done presentation and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Shannon. Okay, I do have a few questions. The 80 millimeters of asphalt, is that, when we're looking at loads on the road, is that just a minimum standard or is that a higher standard? Where does it fit in road construction?
It would be for an arterial. I will consider 3rd Avenue as an arterial road within Hornepayne itself. 80 millimeters is not the minimal. I think like on a residential street in say Thunder Bay here, you're probably going to see 60 millimeters. So it is something that's, it's not a minimum amount. At one time, I even seen as little as 50 millimeters, not on streets, but say in parking lots, things like that. I think the minimum's probably about 60 for on a city street. So 80 is a little bit more than that minimum standard. And the reason why we did that is because especially on the bottom end, you have a couple of variety stores, a grocery store, etc. So what I, in consultation with myself, what Stantec did when they were doing the loading calculations for 3rd Avenue is we assumed 10% commercial vehicles as part of our annual average daily traffic loading. So it's not just pedestrian vehicles, it's also heavier traffic as well.
Okay, and that goes right into my next question. Was it looked at possibly making the roadway thicker down by our commercial part of 3rd Ave? Or is 80 enough?
So 80 would be fine to go throughout the entire section. I actually asked Stantec that myself as well, to be perfectly honest with you, especially with that grocery store being at the bottom end. But a combination of what we found in the field, so there was no difference in the condition of the existing asphalt at the east end of the project, even though that's where the higher amount of your heavier traffic loading is. And we just didn't see the need. I don't think there's a lot of value there in going with a thicker asphalt there. I just don't think there's value for money associated with that. What I will say though is if the town knows of maybe like future developments and that going on in the town, it's something that we could relook at. But as long as the existing commercial establishments are going to be something similar to what you see now, and that I honestly don't see the value there.
Okay. And with the underlying infrastructure with the water main and the sewer, is there any insurance that's placed on that once it's in the ground? Is this project insured for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, so the contract there'll be a 1-year warranty. That's a pretty standard practice through the construction association. And what we will do is North Rock will be responsible on the anniversary of the project completion. So when we sign off on substantial completion, that's basically that we're certifying that the project, aside from cleanup, is complete. 1 year from that point in time, we'll do a 1-year warranty inspection. And so during that time, the project and anything that the contractor did as part of that project is their responsibility. So obviously winter maintenance and things like that of the road is the responsibility of the town. But should there be any issues with things like the sanitary sewer, anything with the water main, etc., we have holdbacks that will be in place for that entire year that the contractor will either be responsible to correct those deficiencies. And if they're not willing to do so themselves, those holdbacks that we have in place through the contract language will be there that the town can seek another contractor to go and make those repairs.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions from council before I continue? No? Okay. Just in your presentation of option 2, when you were talking about the south side of putting the new sidewalk on the south side, was I correct in hearing that there would still be ditches on the south side as well?
Yeah, just it would be something much smaller than what's there now. And unless we can build up, so what I'd like to do is build up the front yards a little bit so that the water gets out to the street. That's the ideal situation with a curb and gutter. What I showed in the presentation probably isn't actually accurate. You're correct in catching that, actually, because we showed it as being the same depth as what's there. It would be something that would be much smaller than that. And I just want to make sure, I'm hoping to get all the water out onto the street from the front yards if I can. If I can't, we might be just having a small swale or something behind the sidewalk, just so that we don't have the sidewalk acting as a dam.
Okay, and in the between the two options, is there the possibility that if we are going to have ditches on either side, then is there a possibility of creating a walk area, but just extending the concrete, or not the concrete, staying away from concrete and just extending the roadway, the actual asphalt on that side, and then keeping our ditches?
Yes, you can do that. There's room to do that. And that's kind of where I was going with option 1 with respect to the 1 meter paved shoulder. I'd want to delineate that. But if we had a dedicated walkway of any type, something similar to a sidewalk, I would want to see the concrete curb and gutter still there, because that non-mountable curb and gutter acts as a safety barrier for the pedestrian traffic. I realize it's not there with the 1 meter paved shoulder, but when you're there with a sidewalk and you've got a dedicated walking area, it's best to have some sort of a safety barrier there. That's why you usually see the curb and gutter. But having said that, you're right, though, that we could do that.
Okay, and with that, the costing of that should be substantially less, because I'm looking at the cost of the curb and gutter and the sidewalk, and the asphalt was $400,000 for the entire street.
Yeah.
So there could be savings there.
There'd definitely be savings there, 100% there would, yeah. Because what we could do is, even if we just extended the asphalt a little bit further on the south side, instead of having a 1 meter paved shoulder, maybe you have something a little bit wider, like you're suggesting, like 1.5 meters or a 2 meter. What I do is I delineate it further over so that that lane would be wider, would be the way that I'd want to handle that. Maybe you go with a 4 meter wide lane on that side, and then a 1.5 meter beyond that for the walking. So you'd save your asphalt costs would go up a little bit, but your concrete costs would go way down. So yes, it would be something way less than option 2.
Okay, and then with that, if that was the way, you would still be putting a concrete curb on that, or not? Would you just leave it curbless?
Yeah, it would be a lot cheaper to leave it curbless. The reason why I like the curbs there, especially with the sidewalk, is because, like I said, that non-mountable curb acts as a safety barrier for pedestrians. But we could get away with, like I said, if we widen that lane, that creates more space in there. There's actually a buffer between them, the lane and that walking area. I'd feel a lot more comfortable from a safety perspective, and I don't think we would probably need the curb and gutter then.
Okay. And just help me understand, for the long-term maintenance of the road, do the curb and gutters add extra maintenance? Because I know just from like water does damage. You want to keep that top sealed. You want it to act like a wave basically. So with all of those gutters and then the concrete, is that additional area that we have to watch that the water doesn't get under? Or is it like, I'm concerned that the longevity of the road, I would like it to last the longest that possible.
No, I totally understand your concerns. No, so the curb and gutter, the way that the curb and gutter works is there'd be a sub drain that would be located directly below that curb and gutter. So anything that's getting out to the edge of the roadway with there not being that open ditch right beside the road anymore, it would get into that sub drain, and that's part of the reason why we want to extend the storm sewer, as well as with the water coming off the road, it's no longer going into the ditch which is adjacent to the road, so that's less opportunity again for water to get under the road or stay under the road. So the intent of the curb and gutter is actually to improve that situation as opposed to making it worse. Having said that, though, with us doing the reconstruction that we are, with the 500 millimeters of new granular area, and I'm talking about option 1 now, with the 500 millimeters of granular B and the 150 millimeters of granular A, I would ensure through the ditching itself that road bed is able to drain. So both through option 1, I'd make sure that you get a good road bed drainage to help ensure the longevity of your new street, as well as with the curb and gutter option, with the subdrain and that, it's considerable more cost. But the intent of that is to also help the longevity of the roadway as well. So the only additional, so there shouldn't be any more, the only additional maintenance that there could potentially be is because you do have catch basins associated with this curb and gutter. So if those happen to get plugged with leaves, debris, etc., there'd be increased maintenance there. Aside from that, you just have to salt sand your sidewalk, right, and plow your sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions at this time from council? Council Drago?
Yeah, I want to follow up what you said. Excellent point. I really like the area of extending it 2 meters versus a sidewalk. Number one, the side where it's concrete. Concrete does fluctuate a lot, -40, +20, +30. And also for the removal of the snow. I'm not a public works manager, but that would be, first of all, remove the snow from the road, then we have to remove the snow from the sidewalk. If you have the extension of the road, it'd be a one-time deal, correct? So there'd be less cost removing the snow during wintertime. Correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I would think we would need some sort of specialized equipment for sidewalks, right? Like that we don't have. Go ahead, Eileen.
Mayor, I just wanted to add and mention to council that Public Works Manager does have some additional information that he can add to that as well if they'd like to hear that.
Okay. You have the floor.
Just the residents added we need extra equipment. I have pricing already on the equipment. You need a sidewalk trackless machine and then you need a snow blower to help blow the snow into a dump truck.
Into a truck, okay.
Probably looking 300,000 feet to dump the snow blower and probably about the same for the trackless machine for the sidewalk.
Okay, and if we were to extend the roadway an extra 2 meters, we have all that equipment right now?
What we have could work.
What we have could work, okay. Thank you for that. Okay, I do have a couple more questions.
Sure, no problem.
We were talking about disruption and with the traffic along 3rd Avenue, and I realize this happens, but it sounded like the majority of the work would be happening on one side. So first of all, with option 2, if we were to go with a full curb, that the majority of that work would be happening on the south side of the road?
Yeah, so the majority you're right, the majority of the surface work would be on the south side of the road. However, the majority of the subsurface work is actually on the north side of the road because your water main and your sanitary sewer are both on that side of the road.
Okay, so at each stage then, regardless of option, we're going to have driveways inaccessible for for periods of time then? Like, will they be able to access? access their house within a 24-hour period?
Yeah, so what we would do is we would have language in the contract that forces the contractor to re-implement that access. There's no way that we can have somebody not being able to access their homestead on a daily basis. So what we would do is the contractor would have to, it doesn't take long to put a couple sections of pipe in, and all they have to do is schedule their work accordingly, where what they would do is they wouldn't trench by somebody's driveway at 6 o'clock in the morning while that person's still there, right? So what they do is get started in the morning, get their trench dug, get a couple lengths of pipe in, and then get that section backfilled so that they reinstitute that person's driveway. And we could put language in the contract that just forces the contractor to schedule their work in a manner that access to people's homesteads are restored on a daily basis. When it comes to businesses, what we could do is we could say that the contractor has to schedule their work in such a manner that that business is accessible from certain time in the morning to a certain time in the afternoon. And we could work with the individual business owners because that's their livelihood, right? And we understand that, and the contractor understands that. And again, this comes up all the time in the city too. Quite often, business owners get very, very frustrated very quickly with contractors when there's work going on there, because no matter what, they feel that there's a disruption to their business. But like I said, through the language in the contract, we could minimize that and try and avoid it altogether.
Okay, fantastic. And why I bring that up is that, as you know, it's a main thoroughfare up to one section of our community, and I just don't want, and the summertime is it's probably a lot of our most favorite season. Yeah. And I don't want to hinder people's lifestyles too much while we're doing this process. So thank you for that. The other part that I had is have you in the past or know of any opportunity where homeowners, once this is out to the contractor, where they could get their driveway paved?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. What we would do,
get their paving done, or like CN's parking lot, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you know what? Most contractors are happy to do that because you guys don't have any, Villeneuve Construction, for example, would be your closest contractor, but I know you guys don't have a contractor right in Hornepayne with a permanent asphalt plant there. So whatever contractor takes on this work is going to bring in a mobile asphalt plant, presumably to do the work or haul the asphalt a longer distance. But yeah, you always see that come up where people will approach the contractor on a regular basis. Some contractors will even put flyers all along that section of roadway to the individual homeowners, identifying, hey, look, if you guys want your driveways repaved, we can do it for a lot cheaper while we're here than by other means. So absolutely.
Okay, and then another question similar to that is a lot of the home access points for our water and sewer, they're like the aging infrastructure on the homeowner's property as well. Yeah. So would it be in the best interest of the homeowners to update that this summer? Because once this road is complete, if there's any digging that has to be done on the road because of their fault, they would have to cover that expense.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So what we would do is the leads up to the property line would be covered through this capital works project. From the property line to the homestead would be the responsibility of the homeowner. So yeah, I mean, we could, it depends on the condition of those individuals' service leads, of course, right? So they could be replacing something that they don't need to. When we go in and do that type of work, you can see the service lead when you expose it, when the contractor is doing the work. And at that time, you can normally identify, okay, this one's in rough shape, it should probably be replaced. And quite often the contractor will just figure out a price with the homeowner and do it right there while they're there doing the work as well. But if some of the homeowners know that they have a problem with those services and they want to preempt this work coming in, I think that that's a great idea for sure. Okay, so just to reiterate what you just said, so I have an understanding in my mind. Yep.
to have it correct is, so there's the one option is homeowners could get it done up to their curb stop now, before this construction starts completely. And then another option could be possibly that once the construction starts and we find areas that are going to be problematic, that they could possibly do that work then.
That's correct. What that would do is it would add to the contractor's schedule a little bit. But they could work that, like they could work out the actual price and do that at that time. Yes. Quite often contractors will do that, where they'll identify a service that's in poor shape and they'll just suggest to the homeowner that while they're there doing the work that they could replace that lead.
Okay, so in the language, Kevin, of the contract, can we make some allowances for that to happen so that there is some flexibility? Because I would rather these issues or like if anything's found that's problematic, that we have it built in that there could be some flexibility for people to get it fixed at their cost, of course.
Absolutely. It's that tender, when that tender's finalized and ready to go out to bid, that is the town of Hornepayne's tender. So we can have whatever the town of Hornepayne wants in there. And of course, you know, I either agree or try and talk you out of things that I don't think that you should be doing perhaps, but something like that, absolutely. I've seen it before, and we could just identify right in there that it's the understanding of the town that a lot of the service leads may need to be replaced and that the contractor shall make allowance to work with the individual homeowners to have those done at the time of construction and allow for that in their schedule. Not a problem.
Okay, great. Any other questions from council at this time? I guess the follow-up question then is, because the two options, if we introduced a third type of option here, how would we move forward with that if we wanted to know what that cost was? Or
yeah, I mean, I have no problem. Like, we're all the same. I consider us all part of the same project team here. So if that wasn't an option that was presented to us to consider previously, but I certainly, it wouldn't take me very long, honestly, to just go ahead and take a preliminary run through of that option, revise some quantities, revise some costs, and I could get something to Eileen probably within a couple of weeks, if not sooner. Maybe even a week or so, just to give yourself and council an opportunity to review that as a third option.
okay, just we do have paperwork on the desk, council. It's this, and I just want to ensure I'm reading it right, because we're looking at, with option one, we have a total of just under 3.4 million. And then with option two, it's 5 million, but you can see, council, that option two has a 1.7 of debt attributed to it. And if I'm getting this wrong, could we have the staff tell me? Okay, that's correct. Okay. So I think it's, when we're looking at this, I think it would be valuable to get the information of what we discussed here tonight for safety of our community, of seeing what that cost would be to run the pavement. Because if option two, not only we heard the public manager talk to us today too about the extra equipment that we are going to have, and then this falls under our MMS too, our maintenance standards, that you have to maintain your sidewalks to a certain standard as well. So we would fall in that. So if council is in agreement, and Ted, I want to ensure that you're hearing this as well, that we do request for the third option.
Fine, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Council, any comments on that? Council?
Yeah, just a final comment. I said earlier, I agreed with you. So would it be exactly 2 meters or less than 2 meters? I'd like to know that precisely, please. For the
I would want to take a look at the cross section itself and see what I could fit on there. So what I'm thinking though is I would want the lane to be wider, and right now I've proposed 3.5 meter lanes. That's that eastbound lane, that south side lane. I would want it to be probably 4 meters as opposed to the 3.5. so that you have a little bit of additional width, and then probably a 1.5 meter paved section beyond that. So the overall width would be 2 meters, but it would only probably be delineated 1.5, and then an extra 0.5 on the lane, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That would probably be on the cusp here. That would be probably my recommendation.
And so if this, we're not looking at tendering this in the fall. I just want to make sure that we're meeting your timelines and the timelines of staff. If we were to bring this back at the, I have those meetings written down, August 3rd, April 3rd.
April 3rd or 17th.
Yeah, we have April 3rd or 17th. Does that, if we had the option at that time and then council made a decision after that, would that allow you enough time?
Yeah, I mean, we, to be perfectly honest, I think there's a lot of float attributed right now in the RFP that we have for our completion date. When we've had meetings with the project team and Eileen, et cetera, we understand that like the best value the town of Hornepayne is going to get on this project in 2025 is to put it on the street for tendering very early in 2025. So approximately a year from right now. Like March would be a really good time to tender this project because the contractors aren't filled up with other work yet. They're hungry for work at this point in time. So you're going to get a more competitive bid if you bid it early. So even if we have to extend our delivery to you guys, I can't remember our completion date, it's this summer, but even if we don't submit it to you guys, maybe for an extra month or something, this project's still going to be sitting on the shelf for a few months before it goes to tender anyways. So I think there's quite a bit of float in there that gives you that freedom to take a little bit longer to make a decision as a mayor and council.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I suggest bringing it back to possibly a May meeting then? Just because there's something I know that is going on to the April 17th meeting as well. Just the rebranding, I believe that is the final report presentation that's coming back as well. So, and if we do have to wiggle time, but that's up to council whether they want to.
The only thing I'm concerned about that is if we wait to the 17th and we have issue, I'm thinking that it shouldn't be as long a presentation. We've had option 1 and 2, and that's no disrespect, Kevin. I'm glad to take the time. I didn't mean it that way.
No, I know you didn't. I just laughed because like I said, I do apologize because I'm very long-winded sometimes. Somebody could have thrown something at me through the camera. I wouldn't have taken offense.
No, I'm just thinking we will only have one option presented. With the differences, and then we could probably do that option in a half, like we'll 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, truthfully, it's entirely up to you, Mayor and Council as well. Like I can present this again if it takes till then, but I can also provide you guys the information, and if you guys, even on your own as individuals, make a decision behind the scenes earlier, then we could go with that. If it takes until whenever we're scheduled to do a presentation for yourself and council again, then we could do that too. And then that way you guys have the luxury of making a decision whenever you choose.
You know what, Kevin, I really like that idea of submitting the option, and we can put it on our council agenda then for the 3rd of April. And we can have a short discussion. And then if we need to have further questions or council has further questions at that time, then we can set up a meeting in May.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll make sure that I'm available anytime you guys need me. So.
Okay, let's do that. Any other questions right now for Kevin before I close the presentation from council? Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions. Thank you so much for being in Hornepayne virtually tonight. This has been exciting for council and for Hornepayne that this is happening for our community, and it's exciting to see it on paper now and see the images. And I've had this street in my mind for about 5 years.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. No, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate, like I said, I do very much appreciate everybody's time, and I know that you guys are all excited about this project, and trust me when I say that North Rock's excited to be a part of it with you guys too. So,
Okay, great. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk again soon.
okay, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
We do have a motion, but I think it might need to be changed. Do you want to move her in a seconder, and I'll let you read out the motion, Jen, that you have there?
I don't have a motion.
Oh, okay.
But I was just gonna say, we can use the, receive as
Oh, okay.
information.
Yeah, okay.
And then this will just be, the one on here will be scrapped for the minutes, and then we'll bring back a motion when council does decide.
Okay, so it's, be it resolved that council does hereby receive item number 8.1. And then the title,
I would
it doesn't
just
really have a
put,
title.
Third Avenue Reconstruction Project Option Analysis Presentation from Kevin Briggs, President of
Okay,
North Rock Engineering.
as information. Okay. Okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please, council. Moved by Councillor Vaughn Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby receive item 8.1, North Rock Engineering Incorporated Third Ave Reconstruction Project Option Analysis by Kevin Briggs, President, as information. Those in favor? And that is carried. And I apologize to you, Jen, I added the North Rock Engineering at the beginning.
No
Are
worries.
you good? Okay. As long as we have it written right. Okay, moving on, we're moving on to 7.1. We had moved this staff report down just so that we didn't feel like we were rushed. Okay, I'll hand the floor over to the treasurer and for her report.
So I just want to first apologize for all of the corrections that had to be made to this report. The acting treasurer and I have been going back and forth and changing things quite a few times. So I just want to mention that on page 7, for the funding options of Third Avenue, it was inadvertently missed that there was more money in the OSIF formula component than was on our books. So we had a total of 553,000 to be put towards the project, when in fact we have just over 1.3 million. We're getting just under 400,000 this year, so that's included. So council has the option to either put all of the 1.3 million into the Third Avenue project, which could cover our portion of the grant as well as the sewer portion. So then we wouldn't have to get any debt if council went with option 1. So then again, down into option 2, the OSIF funding, there's a just over 1.3 million dollars. So then for the debt portion of option 2, it would just be just over 1.7 million.
Can
So-
I just a question? So this is correct. This one's correct.
This one is,
Okay,
yeah.
so this is correct, council?
So that if you see on this form, there's a little bit more money down here, about 33,000. That's actually because we have in excess of money. So we wouldn't need that whole 1.3 million to make up the whole difference. You know, you see anything, we only need 3.4 million for option 1, where we would have 3.466 available.
Okay.
So then those two errors with the OSIP then trickles down to change the information on page 9 and page 10. So at the bottom of page 9, where it says we would need 4.3 million for all of our projects, that would now be 3.898 million.
Okay, can you just stop for a second? I just want to know what page you're on, Melissa.
Page 9,
Page 9, okay.
at the
And-
bottom, where the 3 options are with 4.3 million.
Yeah, okay.
Those amounts for all of the projects would now be 3.898 million. And then on the second page, on page 10, where it says 6.3 million for the three options, it would be 5,676,000.
Okay.
So then again, on the same page, page 10, down here at the bottom where it says Arena Project, Third Avenue Project, Third 2, and then Fire Department, whatnot. So the Third Avenue Project, option 1, the loan amount would be 0. And then the Third Avenue Project, option 2, the loan amount would be 1.777 million.
Okay.
So like I had mentioned prior to the council meeting, I will make those corrections in the report and then I'll put it on information only at the next council meeting.
Sounds good. Okay. Did you want to add anything further to the report? Okay.
I believe Richard was also gonna be included to talk about this report as he's done it today.
Okay. Richard, are you still with us? You're welcome to turn your camera on as we go through this discussion.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, nice to see you, Richard. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and you?
Pretty
I think
good.
spring is here.
Yeah, spring is fun. Oh, now I should knock on wood. Watch, we'll get 4 feet of snow.
Yeah, I think Melissa's done a great job, and I wanted to point out the thing that she added at the end of her report on page 11. All of the funding options for the two things, the arena and the ball diamond that we had in the capital plan. I think she's come up with some great ideas there. One other thing I was going to mention, I didn't get back to her, was for council to consider, I don't know whether it would work or not, but to try and put together a fundraising committee for those two options. If there's some volunteers from the municipality that really want the improvements to the arena and to see that ball diamond completed, that might be a good idea and take some of the workload off of staff. So I'm just going to throw that out. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we need to a couple of questions first, just to ensure that we're all on the same page for where our budget requirements are, because throughout the report, we were told what was included and what hadn't been included. And the arena project is not in the current capital budget, right?
Yes, it is. The dechlorination project is not.
The dechlorination project. So within the capital budget, or the 3.6 proposed increase to our tax rate, we're covering off any loans or anything from that arena project?
No, there's nothing that's coming from the levy to fund any of the capital projects. It's
Okay.
just long-term loans and
Okay.
various other sources.
Okay, so I guess the first thing I'd like to ensure that we're on the same page is, which of the projects would affect this year's budget?
So it would be at the bottom of page 5, where it says 2024 draft capital budget.
There you go.
So there's 2 items there and then 2 on the next page.
Okay, just because it's such a comprehensive report and we do have to make other decisions, I would like to start there and see council's consideration for this year's. So the first is the fire department. We have the pumper truck, building renovations. It's all amounting to 1 million. And I would like to approach council. I think we do have to put some pressure on the province for usage of our equipment. And we do have a meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs on the 18th, I believe it is.
I can't remember.
Anyway, we do have a meeting coming up. Sorry, I need to put you on the spot like that. And I would like to bring this to his attention before we make a fulsome decision on this, is understanding what kind of pressures we are under. But I think also we will need the amounts of usage that is on our fire truck, because that's coming as well. Right now, it's just the pumper truck on here. But eventually we're going to have to replace our fire truck as well. And through you to the fire chief.
Our rescue truck is much older than our present pumper.
Okay,
Our present pumper can't be used as a frontline pumper. It can't even be counted as a reserve pumper according to the insurance underwriters survey, but we still use it. We use that as my second vehicle. But it's 26 years old now, so I don't know how long I can keep it as a second vehicle. I'm sure it would go for quite a while as a second vehicle.
okay. Because this is my thoughts on this, is that I want the equipment for the fire department. I want the equipment for our community. But by the time we pay off this loan, we're gonna have to buy a new one.
Absolutely.
And how much money are we putting in an interest?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like right now we have this report, and there's even further information that we can gather and go into that meeting and say, look, we're at this critical stage. We need envelopes that specifically are opened for this, for small communities. Go ahead, Lorna.
Just to add to that, it sounds like this is another topic that is going on in a bunch of municipalities. It's a huge concern, and they're all in the same boat. So why not bring it forward to as many people as we can?
Right. Okay, so out of this, I really do think we're gonna have to break this down over a couple of meetings. I am not optimistic we're gonna get through everything tonight, because my brain is gonna get fried, but go ahead, Councillor Gorman.
I agree with bringing these things forward, but I do believe too that we do have to make a long-term plan for this. So no matter what, we have to somehow put this into something. So.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Councillor Stack, go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor, I mean, necessity is there for a pumper truck, tanker truck. What is the time frame we can wait for the province to respond to us? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? We should put a timeline on that. And then I think this should be included in the budget. We need it.
Yes, yeah.
Because I want to see a timeline. I just said, oh gee, by the time province responds, we could be sitting here next year, same time, saying the same thing as we did before. So I could see a time frame as council to make the decision. If the province does not come through, well, guess what? Have to bite the bullet and buy it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then I'm wondering too, if we push for a meeting with the Minister of Finance when we have that meeting with MMH or HA. I'm already getting tired of council.
Last question.
Yes, go ahead.
Madam Mayor?
Through you,
Sorry, Councillor Sheneman, just stand by. Councillor Peter Kitzmaker is asking a question.
through you, Eileen, Miles, if we were to upgrade the pumper truck or get a new one, would it fit in our existing building?
So there's
You talked about that.
there's
earlier.
issues with that. We've looked at several options, and I've brought them to Richard. Most of the quotes I received were around between $500,000 and $700,000 plus tax.
Yeah.
So $600,000 to $800,000. They were all 34-foot trucks. Every single one of them, 33 and a half,
What do we
32
have
and a
now?
half to 33 and a half foot trucks. Our present truck was built to be small enough to fit in our hall at 28 feet. So we've measured, I brought in a contractor to move the staircase. I can add I can add another 28-foot truck in there. I can't go bigger. So I found two outfits that will give me a 28-foot truck. They won't be the same kind of fire truck as we have now. That's something to talk to council about. Also, right now our truck is a basically 900-gallon tank with a 4,000 liter a minute pump. And these trucks are, the one particular one I have in mind is 1,500 gallons with a 3,000 liter a minute pump. But we don't need more than 3,000 liter a minute to qualify. We need 2,500 liter a minute to qualify.
It'll do the job.
So what we have is huge. We have 4,000 liter pump. We've never used it. We
Thank
have more than what we need, right? 3,000 liters, again, likely to be more than enough. And the extra tank size is a real plus for us. For places like Art Swanson's, the MTO building, Aggies across from the MTO, Hawashik, Hornepayne Lumber, Hornepayne Power.
Right.
That extra size of a tanker will be a real plus. So there's pros and cons. That's the one type of truck I could fit in our garage. If we went with the 34-foot truck, we could put an addition on the front of the garage for ballpark 150,000. One quote I got anyway.
Thank you.
Did we investigate anything for the exhaust removal equipment that we need to put in any of the renovations to the building, for any grants that are available for that?
I believe we're told that we don't qualify. And I don't understand it. I'm not sure. I don't know too much about it. I've reached out and I haven't gotten all the answers I needed.
Okay.
I believe because we're municipal building, we don't qualify for the grant.
Go ahead.
Mayor or council, the acting treasurer also had his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to point out to council is my recommendation to council would be to approve the budget for the capital additions, including that pumper tanker truck. Number one reason is then Miles is able to tell the insurance company that the budget has been approved for an additional new piece of equipment. And that will delay any change to insurance billings. And then it still gives you some time for the balance of this year. Like, there's nothing wrong, my understanding, with the existing equipment you have. So the actual purchase can be delayed and brought back to council after you've had a chance to discuss it with the parliamentary members and see if there's any movement to try and delay based on the age of the equipment and everything else. So just my recommendation.
Okay, thank you for that, Richard.
Ted had something else.
Oh, yes, sorry, Ted, go ahead, Councillor Sheneman. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just as food for thought when you're going into your meeting, whether it be the 18th or whenever it is, when I had a conversation with a volunteer fire chief in an unorganized township this summer, where one of our properties is, he had said that all of their equipment is funded provincially, that they have able to get their equipment funded because they're in an unorganized township. And I'm not sure if perhaps Fire Chief Miles could confirm that, but obviously we have something that's not right in the balance of scales there, that they're counting on us as, because we have ratepayers, to be able to fund things that just basically everybody else or unorganized townships have. So just more bullets in your gun, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor. Okay, my only concern with Richard, with passing the budget, I have no problem passing the budget as it stands now with the 3.6, My only concern is that if we don't come up with a solution, we've put in a resolution that we would do this work. And if we haven't figured it out, I don't want to be seen as backtracking to my residents that we're saying we're doing something and then, we're not doing it. That's my concern. Do you have a suggestion on how we move forward with it so that we can continue investigating and pass our budget so that work is, doesn't have to continue or sit there in limbo per se?
Just because the budget, the item is approved in the budget doesn't mean it has to be spent even this year. And I think a good explanation to your taxpayers would be that we are continuing to look at other options of funding. As Councillor Ted just said, maybe there is something in grants that we're not aware of. So that's something that we should investigate before the end of the year, before we have to place an order for the equipment. I think by having it in the budget and not proceeding, there were items last year that were in the budget that never proceeded to get acquired. So I see no problem with having it there. With the idea, the smaller items, I think, if there are some building renovations that need to go ahead, let's get them going. If there's the breathing apparatus is important, the auto extraction equipment for the fire department, I think those are all important things for the department to have to move forward. And that's going to require some short-term financing for equipment. The larger piece would be a longer term financing when purchased down the road. But I don't think because it's approved in the budget, it still can come back to council with the final quote and whatever down the road to say, yeah, we've got 665,000 in the budget, and I've got a price for this piece of equipment, and does council want to proceed now or not? Especially something that large, I think it makes sense to come back even though it's in the budget. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Just because when we look at the other two items and we're talking about the ball field and the arena expansion project, and then we're looking at possibly fundraising avenues as well, how do we negotiate that if we've already passed it? So that was my thinking on it. And we would just continue with a note when we pass our budget then? We would include a note that we're still investigating avenues?
I don't think any note is required. The budget is a budget. There's going to be lots of items that are underspent and lots of items that are overspent in the year just in operating. The budget is an estimate. When you get to large capital, that's a little different. And yeah, we need the piece of equipment in order to save on insurance premiums down the road. And I think you can easily explain that to members of the public. So we have it approved in the budget so that if they're going to start increasing our insurance premiums significantly, then we can go ahead and get this thing ordered. In the meantime, we're looking at any other options as far as grants or what piece of equipment would qualify. But again.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gordon, did you have something?
No, just basically we're being proactive. That's what we're doing.
Okay. So then really we could continue and then we still have to look at our long-term financial planning. I would suggest then as council that we look at passing our budget. We did talk to Richard back in February 7th, I believe it was, at sticking to the 3.6, which he has in the budget. And then setting this onto another meeting where we discuss further options. Is there anything that within tonight though that needs to be discussed tonight that I'm missing? No? Okay, I just don't wanna lose. Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, going to Richard's theme, so basically what he's saying, we could pass the entire capital budget, have the same rationale saying, well, we didn't get this, so we put it in the budget, we're hoping for a grant.
Right.
I mean, really, that's the theme across the board.
Yes.
I don't know.
What's your further thoughts that you don't, I think at some point we have to make a decision
Right.
this year that we're going to get a loan.
Yeah.
We have to allow ourselves some time to try and find other financing.
Yeah, but I mean, further comment, when we were looking at the ball field, we wanted 100%. There was no hidden agendas. We wanted the ball field, but the fact of finance, it didn't happen, and we pushed it back. Here, we're gonna put it out there, but we're hoping to get grants. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this, personally.
Okay.
I gotta be honest and forthright,
No,
you know?
no,
It's,
Richard, are you hearing Councillor Stefanik's reservations? Do you have any comments on how to minimize those?
Yes, I heard the comments and I agree. I understand. I think we're looking at different items. First of all, the ball diamond is not something, I think we all know, council wants to get that going this year. We've got a quote, and I think we've even got it confirmed that they would hold the price for this until after the budget is approved. So that item is definitely going to have to be spent this year, and the money has to be borrowed to pay for that portion that we do not have other funding. I think and as I mentioned earlier, the other smaller equipment for the fire department and public works, I think we should move forward and put that all together. And my suggestion would be is by the fall that you should be able to determine exactly what your final costs are on those items, and then arrange maybe one or two different loans, one a short term for smaller pieces of equipment that have a shorter lifespan versus things like, the ball diamond should have a longer lifetime. So that 220,000 that we're proposing to borrow for the ball diamond could be put over 20 or even 30 years, depending on what rates are and what council wants to build into future budgets. But I think the fire truck is something that I think it's important to get into the budget, even though it's not ordered right away, but specifically so you can put a stop to the insurance company saying we're going to have to start charging you additional premiums because your equipment is too old. I think by having it at least in the budget, if their next step is going to come someday probably to say, well, we need to see a purchase order for it. Well, that could be down the road, but I think it gives you some time to investigate other options and also pursue the item with the ministry to see whether there's going to be any pushback from the ministry on the insurance companies to say, there are situations where fire department equipment is not outdated. If you've got a piece of equipment that's only got 50,000 kilometers on it, even though it's 25 years old, and it's, show them some pictures, it looks brand new. There's nothing wrong with keeping that as their frontline equipment, and therefore you shouldn't have to replace it. Anyway, I think it gives you time to do those things, but there would be some loans required probably by this fall.
okay, thank you.
Okay, does that answer your question? Yeah, okay. Councillor Peter Kitzmaker?
And I think going on what Richard's saying, we have to, with the pumper truck being as important as it is, and I think as far as the insurance is concerned, I think they're only pushing back because the provincial government's allowing it. But that being said, with the increase, if we don't do something soon and show it in our budget and push back the, just buying a little extra time, if we don't do at least that, our extra premiums are going to be the payment on the truck, so we're paying it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be paying, if the taxpayers are going to be paying money, I'd rather see it go towards something as an investment than paying for something that we don't have because of the increased insurance.
Yeah.
Because by the sounds of it, I think the pumper truck is even cheaper than what our insurance is going to cost us at the end.
I'm not sure. I don't.
if you amortize it over so many years.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
right. Yeah, the increase.
the increase in insurance rates, yeah.
And once they increase, it's not like they go and decrease it.
No.
Okay, and so I'm still standing the same that we, when we get to the budget, that we move forward. It was prepared for what we had suggested, and I thank you for all that extra work, Richard. I saw the movement that you did on our budget to bring it still within 3.6%. And then I think we do need to plan to bring this back to council. And if we spread it out over maybe 4 meetings where we have this as a discussion topic and we have more questions, and then we can really look into the future as well. And then I'll have that meeting by the time, well, we'll have that meeting with the minister, and maybe we can get further meetings. So do we need to acknowledge receipt, but bring the, how do we bring a report back to council?
I think we're okay to just do the motion and then we'll bring it back to because the amended report will be brought back under info only.
Yeah, you know what? We should just bring it back to an action item, and then we don't even have to bring it back to info only, and then we can work from there, because we don't usually work under info only as a council discussion.
No.
Okay,
Yeah, so can be brought back,
yeah, let's do that, and then we can bring up
or
further,
new or other, whichever, we will bring it back.
Yeah.
or even arising from the minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
Wherever
Yeah.
it's full.
just so that we can have an open discussion wherever it is in the minutes. Okay, from this conversation tonight, though, is there any further questions right now that council has? And council is permitted to email you any questions before the next, if they have questions on this report, and they can ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder to acknowledge receipt. And moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the amended staff report number SCMT SR 2024-01, provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and back to our regular agenda. Item number 9, we're at departmental reports. If I get a mover and a seconder to open up the reports, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the departmental reports provided at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024. And Eileen, you're first up. Would you like to speak to your report?
I don't have anything further to add to my report, but I can take any questions from council.
Okay, great. And I'll open up the,
Sorry.
floor for questions, council. I know I have questions. Just give me a second. The computer's not cooperating. Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, go ahead. Thank you.
I just want to ask, like, I see you're having ongoing meetings with the asset management, but how far are you guys with the asset management actually?
We do a lot in those meetings. They're usually a few hours long. And I believe, I honestly don't even, maybe the treasurer can add, but we have, I believe something that a report that we need to submit by this July. Like we're working towards submitting to the ministry, I believe, by July 2024. I just don't recall the name of the item, but the asset management coordinator, sorry, is working on that for all 4 communities. So
Okay.
a lot, sorry. And there's a few other things that we need to work on as well. There's the new again, the names are eluding me, but it's the ARO, which is a new,
Asset retirement obligation.
yes, the asset retirement obligation. That's a new requirement as well, which we need to get in, I believe, by the end of this year.
Well, the reason why I asked was, it's just that every time you read something, the asset management thing comes up and it's like, okay, so where are we? Because it seems to be such an important item for us to have done. So I was just wondering, like, where are we? Like, because I keep hearing that we are working with another group or other groups, but how far are we?
I think I'm safe to say, Eileen, I think we are on track to meet the provincial deadline, so
Yes,
correct?
yes, we are, yeah.
Was it the asset management that we were ahead by a year of one deadline? I believe the first round.
Staff were saying yes.
Yes,
Yes, we were. And to be honest, I think that, yeah, like when we speak of other municipalities, like Hornepayne specifically is doing quite well in the asset management plan. And I'm just trying to go through my emails just to kind of indicate some of the stuff we worked on, but
yeah, just to, Councillor Belinda, we had discussions at the Good Roads that there's quite a few municipalities, and we're actually advocating that some of these extensions get extended out because they are. And that's just why it was top of mind, because I remembered that we were on target, and I know that we had finished the one course ahead of time, and that we hadn't gotten behind on meeting the targets. But so shout out to staff and everyone in the background. But yeah, we do want to keep it on target because it's going to be linked right to funding.
Okay. Just
Go ahead.
one question.
Sorry, Eileen, go ahead.
Are you,
Just a second.
Okay.
Eileen,
I was just going to say, to answer your question, Councillor Belinda Kissmaker, the current, so the all assets current level of service, I guess deadline is for July 1st, 2024. So that's what we're currently working towards. And it's quite involved and it requires the treasurer, the public works manager, myself. This is all really new to me, so it's quite a lot to grasp. And like you can see, it's hard for me to remember the names of all of these items. And then we have a strategic asset management policy. We might need to review and update that. And we would have to do that as well by July 1st, 2024. So the agendas are quite, each meeting is quite jam-packed. There's a multitude of things that we do need to figure out, but yeah, we're definitely on track to meet all the requirements.
thanks, you did answer my questions.
you answered that. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Okay, any other questions for the CAO's report? Okay, I just want to give a shout out to nice picture of staff on the website, to the contact you page. And another item that I wanted to have actually brought up for council discussion, because on the council page, we don't have our emails, and I've run into issues where people can't find my email. So I would like mine added. I had this discussion with Eileen. But I leave it up to council if they would like their emails added. Many councils, like townships across the province, do have your emails there, so people can connect you directly. So,
No problem.
No problem. Okay, Councillor Sheneman, your email on the webpage?
Yes,
Your
please.
council email. Yes, okay. So if we could update that,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, please.
Okay, thank you for that.
And if I may,
Yes, go ahead, Councillor.
thank you. To Eileen, on your, the HAA exceedings, the haloacetic acids, are you receiving reports from Aqua on a regular basis as to still the exceedances?
Yes, I am. And they're actually provided to council as well regularly when we get the quarterly reports. So the Q1, the Q2, the Q3, that was actually, I think, something new we added last summer after we had that meeting with Aqua. So those are now in there. So I get them and then council gets them after as well.
And I just want to follow up with the HAAs. I asked in our agenda meeting about the legal requirements. So we like where we're at, that we're meeting any requirements right now. And my understanding is we're in a friendly correspondence with the ministry. We haven't been legislated to a timeline yet. And then I was talking about, I had asked about like, will the runoff, like if we, because the RFP just went out and closed on the 29th, if it doesn't get awarded, say by the end of April, and we've already gone through the runoff, will that affect the consultation? And Eileen assured me it wouldn't, because Aqua's taking all of those samplings, right? So they're going to use that data. So I felt better about that. In my mind, I was thinking the consultants would be out gathering their own data, but we do have people working, and that's going to come back to council to pick the, or to approve the consultant sometime early April, or
Yeah, it will be April.
yeah, okay. And we did receive some proponents that want to do this work, eh?
We did, yes.
Yeah. And what else? I'm looking at my notes here. Oh yeah, so this I want to give a shout out to everyone that participated in Winterfest. I was excited to see that you had double the amount of people at the breakfast. So I missed a good working group. But I just want to give a shout out to Councillor Sheneman for heading that up. Thank you, Councillor. And I've only heard good things about Winterfest, so round of applause to everyone. And I know in the staff in the background got all of the materials for us, so thank you for that. I was going to ask that we possibly ask the CDAC committee to pick a date for Winterfest that we stick with, just because we do have a hotel now that is going to be opening, and we could start possibly advertising that to snowmobilers for the winter and try and bring in more people into our community. So I'm not sure the process of doing that exactly, of how to bring a recommendation to the committee. Go ahead.
Yeah, through Mayor, there is a chair right there.
Oh, okay, the
Yes.
chair is Ted. Okay,
That
Ted,
is
well, I
correct.
have a second thing too for you. I think it would help in funding applications that I know there's some work being done as well for the 100th anniversary, that we look at possibly settling on a date for that, so that we can get out and start tooting that, especially with the rebranding and everything coming, so that your committee's looking at that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the Winterfest, Winterfest should probably always be on Family Day weekend. That would be an ideal time to be able to make that an annual event on that Family Day weekend. And then I do believe that at our next meeting, we're going to try to hash out the details for the 100th anniversary. I think that's the anticipated is to try to get a date set there, and then look at budgeting at our next meeting.
Okay, perfect. So if you can bring an advisory motion from your committee, advising council of that, of your support from your committee, that would be fantastic. And then we can proclaim it here at council through resolution.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and I just want to give a shout out to staff that departmental work plans are going to be on our meeting next week. So there's been work getting down in the background. Thanks. And that's all my questions. Any further questions for the CAO? Okay, there being none, we move on to the treasurer's report. Melissa, would you like to speak to your report before I open the floor for questions?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, I open up the floor for questions for the treasurer's report. Councilor Gregory.
Yeah, under the 3 of 3 other, it was a member of council that asked the request through the CAO, and I think our treasurers responded almost instantaneously. By the time I went to another computer, the answer was in my first computer, so I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions for the treasurer's report? I was just going to suggest that after we get all the billing and everything in, could we get an update on Drago's request that's in the report on your next report? And then we can comparison how it's moving along. If there's no further questions, then we'll move on to the next report. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to the Public Works Manager's report. Dwayne, do you want to speak to your report before I open up for questions?
I have nothing to add. Open up for questions.
Okay, council, the floor is open. Go ahead, Councilor Peter.
Just a comment there. Hats off to you and your staff for building the ramp for the slide, and I know the glow stick skating, all that there. I heard the kids had a lot of fun. We didn't have very much snow. They had to probably scrape around a square mile to get enough snow to make a hill though.
Were you making snow?
Lots of grass in that pile.
Whoever thought that would be our problem.
Yeah.
Councilor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Dwayne. Thank you for saying Simcoe. So once they replace that, we will test run, obviously. And now I would suggest respectfully, it's not a 10-minute test run. It's like 4 to 6 hours, because usually problems will happen after 4 hours, not the first 10 minutes. Be speaking from experience.
We'll make sure.
Thank you.
So I thought I'd ask a question, just because it's probably gonna be rubbing me the wrong way for a while now, just because we have climate change. Do we have a proactive plan for our potholes?
Yes, starting off with filling with gravel, because
Okay.
the asphalt is not malleable yet. So it's still pretty frozen, plus it's hard to patch when there's frost in the ground and water in the holes. So fill with gravel for the time being. I did purchase, every year I purchase asphalt late fall, because I cannot buy asphalt in springtime. You can't, it doesn't start getting produced at least June. So I have to use stuff from the year before.
Okay,
So it's not as good because the oil's dried up a bit inside of it, but that's what we use to patch off. As soon as we're able to start patching the holes, we'll start patching the holes with asphalt.
okay. And is it going to cause some, I guess it'll just be frustration between the freeze and the thaw, because I think we might end up in a longer season than that, right?
Possibly. In the rain, it'll flush the gravel out of the potholes and let the fill them more often. We'll try to stay on best we can. We're already on it today. Actually, after getting all the ditches flowing here the last couple of days, we're actually on patching potholes already with gravels.
Okay, and that was actually, you run right into my next question. So all the ditches, are they all frozen or like thawed and moving, or?
Not positive yet. All
Okay.
the ones that were blocked up are flowing now, so we're trying to stay ahead of them. They'll pop up as they go. They'll keep popping up until they're all open.
Okay. Okay, so this climate is really changing the way we do business, right? Yeah.
I've never seen culverts froze like that before,
Yeah.
right to the top.
Okay. And did you end up having to use the steamer? Is it working? No, nonstop
Nonstop.
and working fine?
Yes.
Okay,
It's purchased in 2019, still.
That's a new one.
yeah, okay, good. Any other questions for the Public Works Manager? Okay, I'm not seeing any of that, and we'll move on to the next report. And nice pictures, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I do have another question. I'm sorry, Dwayne. I was letting you go too quick. Oh, in the water break service picture that you have here, could you just clarify the photo? Because to me, it looks like a culvert, but it's part of the main line.
No, that's just the culvert.
Oh, okay.
But where the guy is standing in yellow,
Yeah,
where his shovel is,
yes,
about a foot away, it looks like a stick, a long stick after the culvert.
yes.
That's the actual curb stop.
Really?
It's broken right there.
Oh my gosh, okay.
What happened, looks like when they put the culvert in, and one time they pushed the curb stop right over, and it was not functional. Then the culvert. It was actually broke. It's not what caused the break broke after it.
Oh, okay. But it was definitely full of pressure then if it
It
was,
was definitely flattened right out.
yeah, okay. Wow. I like pictures. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll move on to Stacy's report. Stacy, do you have anything to add to your report before I open for questions?
No, but
No?
if you have any questions, I'll ask.
Okay. And I open up the floor for council for questions? None? Okay,
Good report. Thank you.
good report. I do have a couple of questions because I know we were talking about the next steps for the, oh, I just lost the question. For the, it's not gonna move for me. For the branding, first of all. So, I just lost my question, council, I'm sorry. We're taking a break at 8 o'clock. Oh, yes, okay, so with the business and attention retraction, it says next step draft plan.
Yeah.
And for the gap analysis, does it get incorporated into that draft plan for that? So do we wait for one to the other?
So
You're seeing my steps
Yeah,
working in my
yeah.
brain, right?
So, you have it right. Normally, those two things aren't done at the same time. Usually the market gap analysis is done first, and then we take the information from the market gap analysis and we create a BRE study.
Right.
But because when this grant was applied for, we have these 3 projects running at the same time. So what we've done with the BRE plan is pretty smart. So what we're doing is we're staying in our steps. We integrated it with the strategic plan, the market gap, the CIP, the rebranding. They'll all be in the steps of our BRE. So it's going to be a fully integrated plan that shows the steps of putting all those other things into play, right? So, and then I think we're going to do a 3 to 5 year implementation, because we're starting a business attraction and retention plan. That would be that is an ongoing job of the EDO.
Okay.
Right? So you'll see in the first year of that BRE plan, it's going to be the implementation and the integration of all those plans. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So we're not necessarily waiting then to start the one for the other. That's what I was concerned about. So I like that. So you said 3 to 5 years or 5 to 7? Sorry.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 years for that integration of the business and attraction plan.
Well, it'll be ongoing.
Right.
So we'll have the milestones and the timeline set up for the first 3 years pretty extensively, and then we'll review it. There'll be a yearly review, but at the 3rd year, we'll kind of take all the feedback we've got and maybe revamp it for the 4th and the 5th year, because we could get new things. We could have a new strategic plan. We could have a new council. So we have that built into that plan already. And then again, that'll be an ongoing strategy that we'll review internally, change as we get feedback from the community, as trends change. We'll just keep that plan going. But once we have it, it's going to be an ongoing thing, like our strategic plan.
And when do you see the draft plan coming to council?
It'll depend on the meeting. So
Yeah.
I should have the draft plans between the 15th and the end of the month. And then when we can put them on to council meetings.
Okay, great. Any other questions? And I apologize for stumbling through that. Oh my gosh, my head. Okay, and I'm just checking, Stacey, to make sure I don't have any other questions on here. Nope, I don't. Okay, I'm gonna close the floor then on questions for managers' reports, and I did get a mover and a seconder for that already. Okay, and I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that's carried. And it's 7:52, council, and I am breaking for 10 minutes. Sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, did you want to mention the time we need to go into close?
Yes, I'll do that right now. We do need to go into close for
8:30, 8:45.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just for the public's consideration, we will be going into close. I'll probably put us into close at 8:20, just to ensure that we don't have any technical difficulties when we get into closed. And I am going to break now for 10 minutes, and we'll meet back at 8:03. Okay, with 8:03, we want to get back to her. I think that's the first time I've ever used that in how many years? Okay,
What
we're
was
on
that?
item 10.
Yeah. What object do you have in your hand?
I don't even know if I did that right, okay? Do you?
No, you
like,
did
I
not.
went,
Jay.
like, if it was aggressive, I'm sorry.
It wasn't.
Okay, action items, we're on item number 10 now in our agenda. And 10.1 was, that we brought back to council. I open up the floor for discussion. Councillor Drago-Stefanik, go
I
ahead.
agreed with it then and agreed with now, so that's my take on it.
Okay,
Thank you, because we had a good discussion, if you recall.
yes, we did, yeah,
Mayor.
and we got more information.
Yeah.
and, for council, so do we need to have further discussion on this, or we can go to a vote for the
I'm good.
motion?
I'd like it to be recorded vote though.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'll hand that over to Jen then, or Eileen, for the recorded vote.
It's up to you. I think I'll let the deputy clerk take this one.
Okay, so, do you need me to get your mover and seconder?
Yes.
Yes, okay, if I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker.
Okay, and would you like me to read out the motion now and then we'll do the recorded vote?
Yes, please.
Splendid. Whereas many municipalities in Ontario have seen an increase to their insurance rates to the joint and several liability. And whereas in 2015, the city of Greater Sudbury, the city, entered into a contract with a contractor experienced in road construction projects to complete a project on Elgin Street in the city's downtown core. And whereas the contract provided that the contractor would be the constructor for the project, as that term is defined in the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the Act. And whereas an employee of the constructor operating a grader on the project struck and killed a pedestrian. And whereas the city was charged with offenses under the Act as the constructor and the employer. And whereas after being acquitted at trial and on appeal, the Ontario Court of Appeal in a decision issued on April 23rd, 2021, found the city to be liable for contraventions of the construction regulations as an employer, as it employed quality control inspectors to monitor the quality of work on the project from time to time. And whereas the Supreme Court of Canada in a decision issued on November 10, 2023, was evenly divided 4-4 on the issue, resulting in dismissal of the city's appeal. And whereas the consequence of this decision is that municipalities in Ontario, as well as other owners of property in the province who wish to undertake construction, are subject to being charged and convicted as an employer for offenses in relation to project sites for which they have no control and have, in accordance with the Act, contracted with an entity to assume plenary oversight and authority over the work on such site as a constructor. And whereas the potential of an owner being charged as an employer, as that term is defined in the Act, in circumstances where it has engaged a constructor, disregards and renders meaningless the owner-constructor provisions contained in the Act, and presents an unacceptable level of increased risk and confusion for owners and contractors throughout the province. And whereas council believes that the safety of workers is paramount, however, the safety of workers on construction projects in Ontario is not increased by placing liability on parties that do not have control of and are not responsible for the conduct of the work on such sites. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby request that the province amend the Occupational Health and Safety Act to clarify the definition of employer to include or to exclude owners that have contracted with a constructor for a project. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable David Cheney, Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, France Jalina, MPP for Nickel Belt, Jamie West, MPP for Sudbury, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, Ontario's Big City Mayors, Mayors and Regional Chairs of Ontario, Northern Ontario Large Urban Mayors, the Council of Construction Associations, and the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, with a copy to the City of Greater Sudbury. So if I'm remembering correctly, we start with the council member who called for a recorded vote. So Councillor Peter Kistemaker, what's your vote?
I'm voting no.
Voting against? Okay. Bear with me while I pull this.
Okay, so then we go in alphabetical order. This would be a good time for you to not panic. I immediately forgot the alphabet. Bear with me.
It's okay.
That would
Yes,
be- I'm
okay, cool.
voting for.
4, okay. Next would be Listmaker Belinda,
I'm voting against.
against. Next would be Counselor Ted Sheneman
4 in favor.
and Counselor Dragos Taylor.
In favor?
Okay, so this is carried with a vote of 3-2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to 10.2. So in discussion, when this item came up in our agenda meeting, we had passed a resolution back in December on this issue. They are asking for a letter from mayor to write to the premier on this. I have no problem doing that and including the resolution that we've already passed. I don't think it's like to pass a second resolution. And my understanding is we met all the requirements of this resolution that they're asking us to support again. But I can write the letter and we can include it on the March 20th information only.
Yep.
If council's in agreement there. Okay. And we need to go as proceeded, right? Sorry, I'm just trying to find the right one.
You're gonna accept it as information only and proceed as discussed.
Yes, I'm trying to find the right one.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, so it's, the motion would be to receive the item and proceed as discussed. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Dragos, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby receive item number 10.2, intimate partner violence, as information and to proceed as discussed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.3. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we can open the floor for discussion. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the 2023 annual monitoring report of the processed organic waste sewage sludge disposal site as prepared by Pension Limited. And now I open up the floor for discussion. And Eileen, would you like to speak to this?
yes, I just wanted to mention to council the biggest takeaways from this report is that essentially there's continues to be exceedances in the well location or the monitoring well location that's indicated in the report. And therefore, under their recommendations, under Pension's recommendations, they've advised that because of these continued exceedances, there should be consideration given to extend the CAZ, which is the contaminant attenuation zone. And then there will be an upcoming, the DNO report, which I can't for the life of me remember what that stands for now, but that's coming to council. And in that report, again, for the sludge site, it just advises that the township should think about securing additional water rights to the southeast to attenuate the observed impacts associated with the trenches.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions on the report? Any questions for the next steps to Eileen? Okay, the one question I have, in the upcoming DNO, are we going to have timelines that we have to follow within that? Because currently they're just suggestions, right? The recommendations of the report?
I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't recall there being any specific deadlines in there.
Okay.
I didn't see any either.
Or you guys haven't seen that yet, sorry. Councillor Kistemaker. I just actually received it and it'll be coming up on the March 20th meeting. But it actually addresses some of the, I think there was MECP requirements that needed to be addressed. And I think the DNO report addresses those from what I recall.
Okay.
But again, this will be coming back to council for, and I'll be able to provide further information then.
Perfect. Okay. Any further questions from there? There being none, I put the acknowledgement receipt of that report to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.4. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the 2023 annual trigger and compliance summary report for the Hornepayne active waste disposal site as prepared by Pinchon Limited. Did you need to speak to this?
I don't have anything further to add to that one, no.
Okay, any questions or comments on this report?
Yeah, through you. I'm just looking at 6.0. It's self-evident. There's no recommendations. Everything's fine. I mean, no comments.
If there's no further comments, I put that acknowledge receipt to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, 10.5 is the AMO cybersecurity. And Eileen, would you like to speak to this?
Yes. So just some information that I wanted to provide to council from Aon, which is the township's insurance company. Mayor Ford had asked if it would be in the township's best interest or if it would help our cyber insurance if council received this training, to which Aon advised cyber training is always good to have. It makes you aware of potential situations and helps to put protocols in place. The training will not reduce the township's cyber premium, but it does help to reduce losses that could increase our premiums. And Aon does have WebEx seminars on cyber for clients, usually 1 to 2 times a year. So they'll look to see if there's anything on the horizon in the next little while and get back to me.
Okay, thank you for that. And thank you, Eileen, for checking into that. Just because we've had this issue across the province and the payouts are quite substantial and they would be anywhere from 1 to 2% of a tax increase to us to get our information back. And I was thankful to Eileen for looking out to our insurance that they have these offerings, and we're going to find out. Right now, we're under the assumption that they would be free as well to us. So, but we're going to find out that information, and I would encourage all of council at that time to be serious about the training and take the training, and always be thinking about your emails and what you're opening. Some emails look very legitimate. They really do. And you have to be very, like, if you're not expecting an email from somebody, it's really easier to give a quick text. Make sure that it's something they've sent. Do you want to speak to that?
I did want to add more to that. It's important to also, because a lot of the times they will use your full proper name, and it's important to look at the email that it's actually coming from, because often that's a giveaway right there. It'll be some weird, like totally bombarded kind of weird email that isn't, mayorford@hornepayne.ca, and it's something else. So, and you can always follow up with a phone call if you have, or you can always send it to me if you're unsure, and I can look into it, because it's something that we see all the time. We've gotten emails where it's like, oh, you're okay to submit this payment, go for it, and it's coming directly from me. And I have, somebody come in and say, oh, you said this is okay to go out. I said, no, never sent that email. So yeah, and we don't want a similar situation that happened just recently in Sudbury, where a simple phone call could have just fixed that. So it's super important to double check the email, and you can back it up with a phone call or verify with a phone call.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Any questions on that? Further comment? Okay, if there's being none, we have to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, there's another one that's.
Oh, you have the partner violence ready for me. I'm sorry, Jen.
No worries.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I do have one to receive the item as information. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stefanik, second by Councillor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby receive item 10.5, Association Municipalities of Ontario AMO, Cybersecurity for Municipal Council Workshop, Councillors Workshop as information. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to 10.6. If I can get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll open up the floor for discussion. Moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas the Auditor General's report and recommendations regarding Public Health Ontario were released on December 6, 2023, and whereas if the recommendations are accepted by the Ministry of Health, it would lead to the closure of 6 Public Health Ontario labs, including the Public Health Lab in Sault Ste. Marie. And whereas these closures will result in the most northern public health lab being situated in Thunder Bay, which will lead to further inequities in healthcare for residents in Northern Ontario compared to Southern Ontario. And whereas these closures will lead to a significant loss of public health expertise in Northern Ontario, with the position from the lab, including 4 medical laboratory technologists ending at a time where public health expertise has proven to be a critical asset in assisting with the many public health challenges in Northern Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby support the Sault Ste. Marie's advocacy against the Auditor General's recommendation to close the Public Health Lab in Sault Ste. Marie due to the profound impact it will have on public health of Northern Ontario. Be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health, Michael Mantha, MPP, Algoma Manitoulin, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FNOM, the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, NOMA, the Northeastern Ontario Municipal Association, NEOMA, and the Northeast Superior Mayors Group, with a copy to the City of Sault Ste. Marie. And I apologize if I said NEOMA twice. It was NOMA and NEOMA. And I open up the floor for discussion on this item. And go ahead, Eileen.
I just wanted to further add and give council an update that we did receive a petition and speaking notes from a medical lab tech with the Public Health Ontario, as they're just trying to gain, they're asking townships and community members to raise awareness about this item. So it was too late to place these items on the agenda, on this agenda. But we'll have the petition and speaking notes at the township office should anyone wish to participate. And that's all.
Okay, Councillor Briggs.
Yeah, Through Mayor, I fully support this resolution. After reading all the background data, analyzing it, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I did go into our local health unit to find out if this would affect us. Like, do you send, because we're with the Porcupine Health Unit, right? Out of Timmins, and where does our lab work go? And it will affect us.
Yeah.
We do have sampling that goes down there, and this is beyond just health of the body sampling. This is water sampling, all of that. And now we'll be waiting further, right? Because and if you look at the report, the amount of sampling that goes to Toronto, like it needs to come out of that centric location. Like we should be building out our labs in Northern Ontario. So.
Agreed.
Okay, any further comments on that motion? Did you have something else to add?
Yes,
Yes,
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add that I'll put the petition in speaking notes under info only for the March 20th agenda as well.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I'll put that motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to item 10.7. And if I can get a mover and a seconder, and we'll put the motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Whereas Autism Ontario has supported and advocated for autistic individuals across the province since 1973. And whereas Autism Ontario's goals is to provide information on autism, support autism research, and implement programs and services for the autism community to address the issues that affect Ontarians with autism, their families, and their caregivers. And whereas Celebrate the Spectrum is a province-wide initiative created to unite families, schools, communities, businesses, government, and professionals in recognizing World Autism Day by celebrating people on the autism spectrum and bringing to light the systemic barriers that must be removed to create a more supportive and inclusive Ontario. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, does hereby proclaim April 2nd, 2024 as World Autism Awareness Day in the community of Hornepayne. Be it further resolved that Council does hereby authorize staff to purchase a flag for Autism Ontario's Fly the Flag campaign, which will be raised in support of Celebrate the Spectrum for World Autism Day. Council discussion on this motion. I do have a few thoughts on the motion. I am completely in support of the motion and the proclamation. But we have had discussion before about flags and where do we put flags and what do we have? And I looked into this a little bit. It is $25 to purchase the flag. And I was wondering if we amend the motion to not do the further resolved flag, but we put the information up on our website. Because we really don't even have a flag pole. We have 3 outside and I was wondering if that would be a way to support, and I have no problem even donating the flag amount to, if we have the funds out of our donation fund.
That's good.
Is that, Councillor?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. If you purchase a flag, I think be respectful to give it to the schools, and one of the schools, they could put it up in their school, and because it's also tied into schools as well, as opposed, because I like to get something for my money, that's taxpayers' money. So if we get the flag, you could decide what school to get it. They could go from one school, one for a couple months, school 2 couple months. Just a thought.
Okay, that's another thought. Do we want to amend the motion to authorize staff actually to buy 2 flags for the schools?
It's a good cause.
It's not going away anytime soon.
No, that's why I
I
wanted
think it's a
to,
great cause.
I wanted to buffer it with like, I'm completely in support of the motion. And then we were talking, just when we had our agenda meeting, just discussing on the website, we could actually add links to some more information, and it might be a more supportive way, and it would be in one of our pop-ups. So you get it in your community calendar as a proclamation.
Yeah.
And, okay, so I'm getting consensus across the table that we amend the authorized staff to purchase 2 flags for our schools in the community.
I think so.
Okay, I've amended the last, be it further resolved. Be it further resolved that council does hereby authorize staff to purchase 2 flags for Autism's Ontario's Fly the Flag campaign, which will be donated to our schools in the community. In support of celebration of Spectrum for World Autism Day. And I am aware that we do have 3 schools actually within the community, but I think they only have 2 schools or there's 1 reception.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So 2 flags.
Are we in? Okay, we'll do 2. Okay. So if there's no further discussion on that item, I put that motion to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 11 is information only, but we're going to pause there. I did give an announcement that we would be going into closed session, and we need to do that to keep an appointment. So I will move to item 16.1. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please, to move into close. Moved by Councillor Drago Stefanik, second by Councillor Belinda Kissmaker. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting at 8:27 p.m. be closed to the public in order to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, pursuant to section 239(2)(b)(f) of the Municipal Act 2001. Those in favor? And that is carried. We're good? Okay. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please, to return to open council, moved by Councilor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby return to open council at 9:26 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, council, we're going to continue back onto our agenda. We are at 11 and information only. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Dragos, second by Councilor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the correspondence information only package attached to the agenda at the regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024. Any comment on the information only package? Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, through Mayor, if anybody has a chance, 11.8, Algoma District School Board 2023 Director's Annual Report, excellent report. It will give you all the information and more. I think it's well done, and I'm a little bit biased, of course, but it's well done. It gives you all the programs and the learning and the budget and the questions. I love the report.
Great, thank you,
Thank you.
Councilor. Eileen?
I just want to bring attention to Council 11.2, which is the scope change approval from the Ministry of Infrastructure. And then 11.3 is the EDO's feedback on that red letter, sorry, from the ministry.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Tonight at council, I wanted to actually play a portion of 11.9 to bring a resolution to our March 20th meeting. Due to time, I'd like to move that item to our March 20th meeting. And if we could put it in an action item, because it will come for resolution. Just some background on this, IESO has put out an LT2 for energy expansion for Northern Ontario. I think it's actually for the entire province. There's 4 different modes. One of them is battery storage, and they're looking for municipal support off the beginning of the process. So we'll talk about that on March the 20th. And I have no further comments except for 11.13 that I want to thank council for your support last March for the Northern Ontario Women's Mayor's Caucus. It has been officially launched as of February 21st with the Mayor of Timmins, and they should have a new executive set up either at the Phenom or NOMA conference. They'll do their elections there, and they do have a terms of reference. So, and we're getting amazing feedback. Go ahead, Councilor.
You weren't here last meeting. I made a comment to council in the news media outlet that was placed out by City of Timmins. Right after your name, they misspelled Hornepayne. Just to let you know that.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I wasn't happy when I saw that.
I'll
I'll tell that to Michelle next time he's here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on information only, I'm going to put acknowledge receipt to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 12 is committee and board updates. Item number 12.1, mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker, second by Councilor Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby acknowledge receipt of the mayor's meeting for February 2024 as prepared by Mayor Cheryl Ford. There is one item arising from our mayor's, the minutes or the meetings that I attended. The Northeast Superior's Mayor's Group, we talked about putting a joint delegation in together for Ontario Northland and supporting that. So it's mobility to service. And we do have a resolution to file for the delegation for good roads. And Jen, do you have that or do I have that?
Did I not print that one out? I may not have. I can read that one out.
Yeah, could you read it? I'll get a mover and a seconder and then we can discuss. Moved by council, or sorry, we gotta acknowledge receipt first. Those in favor? And that is carried. And if I can get a mover and a seconder, we can discuss. Moved by Councilor Peter Kistemaker, second by Councilor Belinda Kistemaker.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby direct the CAO clerk to request a delegation with the Ministry of Transportation at the 2024 Good Roads Conference on behalf of the Northeast Superior Mayor's Group, NESMG, regarding the further expansion of Ontario Northland and continued support for its growth.
So at our mayor's group meeting, when we had this discussion, we put in delegations before and we are attending. I'm not sure which other mayors are attending. It is on our agenda for our mayor's group next week. So we will have the same inclusion with the delegation package of the letters, support, and the resolution. But I do think it's it goes after funding. So if we want to have direct connection from Hornepayne into the Hearst terminal or to White River, we're looking at expanding the funding so that we can get transportation dollars for our community, and that could be for a cab or a personal person to host that connection, right? So that's what it's about. Any further comments or discussion on that item? Okay, there being none, I put that resolution to put the delegation into a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to the ad sub minutes. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Belinda Kissmaker, second by Councillor Drago Stefanik. Be it resolved that the Council of Corporation of the Township of Hornepayne does hereby acknowledge receipt of the minutes from the Algoma District Services Administration Board meeting held on January 25th, 2024. Any discussion or comment on those minutes? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Your chair is Rick Bull, the elected new chair. Going to
No.
the, it wasn't, who was, I'm sorry,
It's
Norman Mann, I apologize.
Norman,
I'm sorry, where is he from? See, it doesn't tell me up, when I read up here names, doesn't tell me what they're from or what they do.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
reason I asked, because I know when I was PHU, it
Mhm.
tells you where you're from and what your position. Just a
Okay.
thought.
I can give that information
Yeah.
when I'm at my meeting.
Yeah, it's just a simple one.
Norm is from Elliott Lake. So all of the people on the board are elected officials. Elliott
Okay.
Lake does hold 2 seats,
Okay,
but yeah, I'm sure they can.
they would make sense, right? It'd be more fulsome, I guess you call it. Thank you.
Any further comment on those minutes? Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number item 12.3 is council committee updates. Any updates from council? Councilor Drago Stefanik?
I'll be very brief synopsis. The PHU Merger Committee met virtually on February 27th. Things that were decided will be called Northeastern Public Health. Boundaries were chosen for both units. A report is being submitted to Ministry of Health on April 2nd. And it's also very, very important. All the recommendation that the Merger Committee does at their meetings is sent to Temiskaming Health Unit Board and Hornepayne Health. They must vote on it and approve it. Otherwise, we don't move on it. It has to be, just like any council, the majority has to vote on it.
Oh, okay.
So it's very transparent. Our minutes from the Merger Committee goes to both boards, to each board member. So everybody knows exactly, as a Merger Committee, where we're heading, what we're doing as a group. There's 4 from PHU and 4 from THU. And next meeting is coming up next month, library board meeting, PHU finance meeting, the virtual Merger Committee meeting, virtual, and BOH meeting in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belinda Kissmaker, go ahead.
So, I have been, I went to the Thunder Bay District League, conference last week. And then I also went to an LCC meeting last night. But what I wanted to bring up was at the Thunder Bay District, there was a mention, I'll give another report later, but one of the things that came up was our firefighters and the lack of for if we have a fire in the bush, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what came out of it was a lot of communities or districts, you might as well say, don't have the people yet. And what they're going by is they're asking people if they're returning, which means they could return, they could not return. So that was a big flag for me. So when at our LCC meeting last night, I asked if we had the firefighters, and apparently we're in good hands. They have a full crew.
Oh,
So, but the thing to remember, guys, is it's good that we have a full crew, but if other places don't have a full crew, they're gonna be shipping our crew that way. So there could be times where we don't have the people in our district, just to give you a heads up.
Mhm. Okay, are they gonna be shipping any resolutions of support, or how are they addressing this with the province, or are they moving it up a level?
No, but if you listen to the news since I came back, it's been in the news. There has been people advocating for how the firefighter situation is being handled.
Okay,
It's a bigger story, but I was more concerned just on what was going on within our area. So
okay,
you should see some more
okay.
things. It ended up being a topic where it wasn't supposed to be at our, it wasn't on our agenda.
Okay,
So
so people were
Yeah.
frustrated and worried.
there
Well, I
are
think it's
people,
because of the season, right?
Yes.
Where it's gonna
Yeah.
be so dry. We don't have enough snow. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like,
but it's kind of bigger than that, where the firefighters bush firefighters are not being looked at the same way our ambulance and our firefighters within our community are being recognized. That's
Okay.
more of another issue.
okay.
Yeah.
And you're gonna bring further reports on this, you said?
Well, I
In the
have,
future?
I'll
Okay, great.
on what I learned.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you for that, Belinda.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Shannon, anything to
Spit it
update?
out.
We had a hospital, sorry, can you hear me? We're okay? We have a hospital board meeting last week, and again, it's the same. It's funding. Agency nurses, they are increasing, and the funding doesn't appear to be forthcoming from the government yet. So it's unfortunate, provincially, province-wide, agency nurses are going up. The costs are going out of control, and it's kind of becoming a very serious financial matter. And then we will be also looking at succession planning, as the CEO is planning her retirement early this summer. So that will be forthcoming in the next month, I do believe. We'll have some announcement there. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Shannon. One question about the plan for the upcoming departure and retirement. Will the time come out, or is there some event planned for that?
No event plan, just the time and the announcement will be coming forth.
Okay, we'll just watch for that at council, so council sends regards for that. Councillor Kissemaker, Peter?
I have nothing to add at this moment.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I'm gonna update council on tonight is that on March the 18th, I'm doing an interview for our community with Crossroads. They interview municipal politicians from across the country, and they reached out to us, so it's about an hour long. We get to highlight our community. I've watched 3 of these interviews now. I think it'll be really well perceived, and we can share it with who have you. And I'll try and make it as salesman avenue as much as I can, so that it goes down that avenue and highlight our community. And that's all the updates from myself, and you're welcome to call me at any time if you need to have information. And moving on to 13.1, implementation of business and attraction strategies. This is a council discussion. Would we be able to move this discussion to the 20th, please? And the draft travel policy as well to the 20th?
Sure.
Okay, I just want to speak to 13.2, that council, if you could review that policy and bring any of your updates to that meeting so that we can bring it back for approval for the 3rd. Go ahead.
Can you do motions to defer for those,
Yeah, I can do motions to defer for sure.
just for minutes purposes?
Okay, if I'm gonna move her in a second here, can I do motions to defer both in one motion?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Drago-Stranik, second by Councillor Belinda Kistemaker. Be it resolved that council does defer items number 13.1 and 13.2. The implement business retention and attraction strategies, business licenses, and the draft policy and payment of expenses to our next available council meeting, March 20th. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 14.1 is bylaws. This is the interim taxes. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Dragos Panic, second by Councilor Belinda Kistermaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2061, being a bylaw to levy certain interim rates, taxes, and charges for the year 2024, be hereby read a first and second time, be considered read a third time, and finally passed. Any discussion on that bylaw?
No.
Okay, there being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Item number 14.2 is our municipal budget. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Peter Kistermaker, second by Councilor Belinda Kistermaker. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 2062, being a bylaw to adopt the 2024 budgetary estimates for the corporation, the Township of Hornepayne, be hereby read a first and second time, and considered read a third time, and finally passed. Any further discussion on the budget? Okay, there being none, I put that to a vote. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, item number 17 is a business arising from the closed session. We had to move the closed session up to meet with the solicitor. There's no further updates at this time. We are still investigating the matter, and we're moving on now to adjournment. Item 18.1, bylaw for confirmatory. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councilor Peter Kistermaker, second by Councilor Belinda Kistermaker. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2063, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024, be hereby read a first and second time, considered read a third time, and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. And adjournment. Council, moved by Councilor Dragos Panic, second by Councilor Peter Kistermaker. Be it resolved that council does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council held on Wednesday, March 6, 2024 at 9:43 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you, council, for
Thank you. Well, Belinda,
going and
I'm watching that very closely.
getting.
We did okay.
Place below the wages of